great presenting that I've done with Dr. Simon, specifically the Center for Early Childhood Research. Looking today, of course, at the effects of teachers commonly receive professional development in a variety of ways. One-day trainings being the most common, I would say. These are workshops that last anywhere 6 to 8 hours where they are introduced to interventions or curricula and then asked to implement that after the training. Multi-day workshops or retreats, individual coaching may also be available to some teachers. However, professional learning communities are becoming very popular in many schools across the country. In an ideal setting, professional learning communities are groups of teachers who teach a similar subject, it's best if it's the same subject, who can work together to use peer observation and feedback to improve their instruction. We can imagine, though, that there may be some settings where an ideal professional learning community can't take place. For instance, there are some schools that struggle with morale. There are also schools that are so small that there may not be teachers who all teach the same or similar subject. So we're looking at what self-directed modules may be able to do for teachers in these kinds of settings. This is part of a larger project that we call the School Experiences in Rural Communities, the HERC. This is a wide, very broad spanning project, looking at the implementation of a novel language literacy curricular supplement. It's called Read It Again. So we have examined constructs such as children's language literacy development, instructional quality for teachers, and then intervention efficacy. But I'm interested specifically in teacher self-efficacy for a variety of reasons. We've got a lot of literature to suggest that if teachers feel efficacious in their practice, then there's decreased teacher burnout, higher reports of job satisfaction. Also, they are more likely to use a variety of instructional strategies and are more likely to be able to lead students to achieve them. So for those of us who are not terribly well-versed in self-efficacy, Bandura defines this as one's belief in one's ability to complete a task in a given domain successfully. So it's definitely domain specific. It also is determinant of how people feel, think, and behave, and is predictive in some cases of a person's willingness to engage in that task in the future. Bandura says that there are 4 ways to develop self-efficacy. The first is a vicarious model, seeing somebody who's kind of like me doing the task successfully, then getting an opportunity to complete that task successfully myself, while getting social persuasion feedback from those around me, and then also physiological cues. So how stressed do I feel in this moment? Weird. So this was a cluster randomized control trial. The cluster was classroom for teachers. The randomization was the treatment, the condition, the teachers were placed in. We've asked 87 preschool teachers in a rural Appalachian region to implement Read It Again in their classrooms twice weekly. There were 3 conditions. There's a control. This is just business as usual. This is preschool without RA, nothing very different for these teachers at all. Then we have an unsupported. I may refer to this as the traditional group. These are teachers who were given a 1-day workshop and all of the materials associated with Read It Again, and then asked to implement it sort of traditionally. Then we had a supported or an enhanced Read It Again condition. These teachers were given the 1-day workshop and all of the materials associated with Read It Again, but were also given access to 12 modules that they were asked to work through individually. So just a bit about the teachers. It was a pretty homogeneous group. 85 of our 87 were female. Nearly everybody was white. Most teachers had similar education levels, with most teachers having some college or an associate's degree. Most teachers worked at Head Start or state kindergarten. Teachers age 12 guidelines. This was adopted from the NIH's study of early child care in 1998. This is the one that's most commonly used in early child care research, which is what the center uses. So 4 items assess classroom management, self-efficacy, and 8 items assess instruction self-efficacy. Management items were things like, I know I can control disruptive children. Instruction efficacy could be things like, I can help students connect content. Because of the importance of PLCs in the literature that's developing around having healthy communities around teachers, we We also wanted to control for sense of community, so we used the Likert type scale to assess student-teachers' reports of involvement, collegiality, and shared goals. So here are some descriptive statistics, which I'm just going to gloss over, but if you're really interested, I'll be happy to show you the slide later. We assessed fidelity, how well teachers actually implemented RIA through a variety of measures, weekly logs reported by teachers, and then the researchers are putting together. Some of that has already been written about in a comparative teaching. So we use hierarchical progression analysis using composite scores of the self-efficacy, sense of community, raw scores, I guess, were derived. We imputed missing values. The most important part, I think, is that we've created two orthogonal contrast variables to assess the teacher's self-efficacy. So we created a contrast variable that put the supported teachers, the enhanced condition versus the control, and then another to the supported teachers, the enhanced condition versus the traditional. I'm going to verbally walk you through the 4 steps of the model because the tables are really overwhelming. In the first, we just wanted to assess the stability of self-efficacy, so that was one. The second, we entered teacher demographics. In the third, we predicted the change in self-efficacy by using the 2 contrast variables. And in the fourth, we entered the teacher reports of their sense of community. First, we're going to look at management self-efficacy. And I didn't think it was appropriate to not use APA format at the APA conference. This is a, as I mentioned, a very large table. But what's important to note is that there were nothing related to our study came out significantly for management self-efficacy. Interestingly, perhaps, the type of preschool program was predictive of teachers spring self-efficacy for management, but not anything related to our study. So outside of the scope of the competition. This is the 4th step, the final model for management self-efficacy. Again, the type of preschool program is the only thing predictive of how the teachers will spring. So for instructional self-efficacy, this is pretty interesting. In the second step, there was a clear effect, but that went away in the subsequent steps. And what emerged was a difference between the teachers in that enhanced condition, those who had the supported 12 modules, versus the traditional condition, who just had the 1-day workshop. That was maintained through the 4th condition as well. And here is that final model. It's a bit easier to read. Interesting. This is a visual representation of this project. So on the left, self-efficacy for management, we see that self-efficacy for management is a relatively stable construct. There is nothing particularly significant. But for self-efficacy for instruction, there's not only a significant difference between the teachers who have access to the 12 modules, but the teachers who only have 1 day of the workshop decline in their self-efficacy for instruction from fall to spring. We call this an implementation test. We ask them to do something novel, and they didn't feel a true implementation doing it. So we ended up thinking about these types of variants and the study has some limitations. We were a relatively small sample, a pretty homogeneous region, and it has lots of words. And I think that perhaps we all can agree that we can agree that asking teachers to implement knowledge practice without any support to do it leads to lower self-efficacy. It may not be particularly groundbreaking. But what we think the contribution here is that when we support teachers, it doesn't necessarily have to be a PLC. We can have them support themselves through these self-directed modules. In our case, we gave the teachers these modules on a disk because of some broadband issues that exist in rural regions. That these could be online, maybe even worse. So that's some future directions, what kinds of self-directed modules look like. I think we can also think that maybe a qualitative study, asking teachers what was the most helpful part of these modules, self-directed modules, was might be interesting. And then, of course, examining whether this is generalizable outside of application. You can ask the people that I've been the PIs of the project, the people who fund me, my advisor, Lindsay Anderman, and my 4 colleagues to help make this presentation.
suggestions around a broader range of possibilities.
So I don't think that social conflict remains what happens when we become if the regulation happens after so I mean, certainly belongingness, certain conflicts are necessary for that to happen. So any situation where a learner is coming up against, especially with the culture and opposing view, social conflict Absolutely.
What was really interesting to us is we've all been when that happens, we have to look at this and also performance of the students. My God, you're smart. You have to not be less smart. And so, but related to this particular topic, it's clear that they've shown us in their work that if we address relational concern, relational competence, that there's a positive relationship. Here we operationalize that in two ways. One is cooperative. The other was meaningful belongings. That supports that self-efficacy. Stop worrying about the one relative to the other. Start focusing on the one. So I guess Robert responds to the question.
Yeah.
Our seminars, our courses, reduce that conflict, basically safe, very specifically what we mean by safe is not worry about
Yep, that's exactly it. And I also think about this as we're going to be talking about conceptual change in our conference in the Division 15 conference in October. And I'm just trying to think of cognitive conflict as one of those mechanisms of both developmental change and learning change. And so I'm always listening to how am I going to differentiate those two things, learning new content or changing your whole way of being or functioning. And so I was just wondering if you're teasing out some of those distinctions yet, or most of this work is done in the learning context, right?
Yeah, and then some other work.
Yeah.
So your effect size is supposed to be small. Your process variables. Should you interpret those the same way? You know, typical guidelines like that. Multiple output variables. And do you think other process variables have bigger effects on other independent variables? Bigger effects?
I just wanted to say, share, didn't know any of this work. When I found out, I said, we have to separate want to assure you, we made every effort, but we didn't accept my paper. So I just wanted to get the record. So the question about effect size is one of the struggles that we've had in this is in the asynchronous context and online learning in particular is very large attrition rates. So it didn't come out here that in the two studies that we've run, we've had the asynchronous condition, 62 to 68% completion rates in the asynchronous context. So the numbers you're seeing are those that finished, and they're not those who didn't finish the procedure all the way through the 6 days. So one response that we have to it is, I think they're larger than we have them. And in terms of the other work on online learning, those rates were very consistent with reporting on the asynchronous online learning in general. So I don't think it's particular to our, I think it can be attributed to asynchronous rather than just the construction procedure. As to other mechanisms, we looked, we worried about time, so we asked the question about would you prefer more time, things get longer. In fact, the asynchronous people said they didn't want more time, it was too long. We looked at technology acceptance, maybe it's just that you're not comfortable working online, you don't find any effects with that. So we're searching, we're happy to have some suggestions.
Thank you. I had a question for Alyssa. I was wondering if you were thinking and exploring the relation between self-efficacy and improvement in achievement as a consequence of implementing the program. We have been exploring that relationship in implementation of collaborative group or in mathematics, and we found significant correlation between improvement in self-efficacy and the achievement in math. I was wondering if that.
Sure, this project is ongoing, and I think that is part of the many next steps that they are creating. So make sure that I'm actually answering your question by responding to the project is ongoing. That is what yes.
One of the explanations if given enough control of the situation in a learning context, I can apply longest I can immediately sort of have an avenue to direct that sort of situation to maybe engaging with auditory actions to show, well, I have the action to pick the last. Well, I'm going to do better on my first, statement. So that would be, maybe one of the certainly the long-term effects of reporting along with sort of very it may increase just the safety, yes, right? I mean, all the way to that by making why